We talking rom-com, we talking action, we talking drama and movie classics. Whatever you want, yo, we have it. Cause we talking movies on the podcast. So I married a film critic. So I married a film critic. So I married a film critic. Hey honey, I just want to talk about the movie like casually. You don't have to bring up the cinematography. Honestly, let's just talk about like how the characters were fun. Married a film critic. So I married a film critic. So I married a...
Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic. I'm your co-host Julia, and here's the film critic.
Hey everybody, this is Barry. Aloha.
Tonight we decided to watch the 1991 Steven Spielberg film, Hook. Yeah! Okay, tell everyone, this was your pick, so tell them why you picked it.
Well, I mean, the movie is going to be turning 30. Wow. Yeah, 30 pretty soon. December of 2021 will make it 30 years since it came out, and I was thinking about writing about it in general, and I thought, oh, this would be a fun one to watch. I mean, I haven't seen it in a while, and it's always been very near and dear to me. It's with Spielberg fans, people tend to be very divisive about it. People either really love this film because they grew up with it, or they're very cynical about it because they didn't. So yeah, I thought it'd be fun to get into it because it's it's maybe the definitive Spielberg movie for so many reasons.
Oh wow! Okay, I'm excited to hear about that.
Well, I didn't say it's the best Spielberg film, but I mean it's definitively Spielberg. I mean his themes, his visuals. I mean it doesn't get more Steven Spielberg than this movie. And I'm not. Yeah, well we'll get into how I feel about the movie, but no, I'm not saying it's his best. I'm saying it doesn't get more Spielberg-y
I was like,
than this movie.
This is brand new information.
No. When we get to the end of it, I can tell you my favorite Spielberg film. It's not this one. But yeah, we'll get into it.
Okay, well, this came out in 1991. I was 11. You were 14.
I was 14.
And so I guess we're in the crowd who loves it because we saw it when it came out. We saw it in theaters.
It's weird. Yeah, I was basically Peter Pan when I saw it. Now I'm Peter Banning.
Oh.
I'm truly Peter Banning.
It's come full circle.
Yeah, I'm what? Am I middle-aged or not quite?
Yeah, totally.
I'm a middle-aged, overweight dad. Yeah, I'm Peter Banning. I grew up. Peter Pan grew up.
Okay, so everyone knows the story of Peter Pan, right? The lost boy who lives in Neverland, who flies with his pixie Tinkerbell and goes to London, meets the Darling kids, Wendy, Michael, and Peter, and they have all these adventures. And this sequel?
Yeah, it's a sequel.
Yeah, it takes place... Yeah, Peter is all grown up. He's a lawyer. He's married. He has 2 children, Jack and Maggie. And they're getting ready to fly back to London to see Grandma Wendy, who is the original Wendy from Peter Pan. And she ends up, we find out she has basically placed all these children with adoptive families, and Peter being one of them.
This is fascinating to me because this film exists in a world where Peter Pan is a beloved, well-known book. At the same time, it's also a true story. It makes me wonder, is the film implying, because I really do feel like James V. Hart, the screenwriter, whose work I like, he also wrote Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is one of my favorite films from this decade. I feel like Hart is possibly implying that maybe James V. Hart was one of the Lost Boys? That J.M. Barrie, excuse me. I think the screenwriter is implying that J.M. Barrie might have been one of the Lost Boys because, I mean, think about it. Like, why is it that there is a book named Peter Pan that is out there circulating, popular, that is actually a true story?
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing we know about the writer of the book in the movie is that he's Wendy's neighbor and heard all their stories and wrote them down and published them. So we don't really know. Yeah,
it's an odd detail. And the one thing that this movie establishes right away is that the film doesn't know quite what to do with it. The love triangle between Peter Pan, Wendy, and Tinkerbell is still intact.
Okay, so I think we've mentioned before that we watch movies with the subtitles because,
Well, that way some of the dialogue pops out. And,
Yeah.
and it's easy to, there's so much going on in this film. It's easy to miss some of the dialogue.
Yeah,
and we also have a little girl sleeping a few rooms away.
so we don't want it to be too loud.
Yeah.
But this was the first time I was like, oh, Wendy was in love with Peter? Like, well, we knew she was in love with him, but it's like she's still kind of in love
it hasn't
with
gone
him.
away. And, and Peter Pan married Wendy's granddaughter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird because there's this one scene where she's like basically trying to remind him, like, hey, you're actually Peter Pan. And he's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, I thought you would come to my wedding.
That was fascinating.
Like basically like stop the wedding and marry me kind of a thing.
There's so much going on in this film, and it's a long film, and there's just a lot of stuff. That was a line that popped up to me tonight too. I thought, how did I miss that? That's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. That's because, nobody watches it with the subtitles, but you catch so many little things where you're like, wait, what?
Once you go Pan, you never go back, apparently, because man.
Apparently, yeah.
Wendy never quite got over him, despite the fact that she did at some point, but
she
still holds a flaming candle for Peter Pan.
It was like technically like her grandson. Kind of.
It is very vampiric, because he is like the vampire that never... It's very Twilight, isn't it?
Well, it is weird because when you're in Neverland, you don't age. But once you're on Earth, you're aging. And so when Wendy was going back with Peter Pan when they were kids, like obviously they were around the same age. But as he was going back and forth, every time he goes to visit her, she's older, and they show that. They show her growing up.
Yeah. I don't want to get too ahead of it, but it is startling to... Gwyneth Paltrow plays Wendy as a young girl in the flashbacks, and it's lovely, and she's lovely in it. But yeah, there is this montage of Wendy getting older, and it's Gwyneth Paltrow in a series of wigs until she turns into Maggie Smith. it is this...
She's like, I'm an old woman. We're like, yeah, we can tell.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think one of the major themes, obviously, in this movie is growing up, forgetting what it's like to be a kid, getting so caught up in your adult life and your work that you just kind of forget about your family, forget to have fun with your kids. And yeah, there's this scene where Moira, Peter's wife,
played by Caroline Goodall, who's wonderful in this.
She's so good. Where she's like, there's only a certain amount of time that your children want to be with you. Like, you only get a window, and then that's it. Like, you're going to beg them to want to be with you. And she's like, you are missing it. And I feel like that part has always stuck with me.
It's Brad, Maura. I gotta take this call. I gotta fix this.
No, you gotta fix your family first.
What?
I'm sorry about your deal.
You hated the deal.
I hated the deal, but I'm sorry you feel so badly about it. Your children love you. They want to play with you. How long do you think that lasts? Soon Jack may not even want you to come to his games. We have a few special years with our children when they're the ones that want us around. After that, you're going to be running after them for a bit of attention. So fast, Peter. It's a few years, and it's over. And you are not being careful. And you are missing it.
Like, no matter how many times I watch this movie, I'm like, oh, that's it right there.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm assuming most people who have listened to this have seen the film, know the film, love the film, or whatever. If
Oh, come on. We don't have to tell you. Go watch it.
on the one hand, it's not, obviously we're going to deal with spoilers here, but I guess just because you and I are laying this out scene by scene, let's properly set this up. I mean, Peter Pan, when we meet him at the beginning of the film, he is now a middle-aged bureaucrat named Peter Banning. He is cold. He is stiff. He has a holster for his cell phone. He's awful. Yeah. And to Robin Williams' credit, they couldn't have picked a better actor to play this because he's going all in with a guy who is really no fun to be around. I like how stiff he is in the first part of this movie. It's fascinating to watch a guy who, whether you know him as Mort from Orc or at this point in time, he hadn't even played the genie yet. But I mean, between, Dead Poets Society and so many other wonderful films, he had already this very, cuddly sort of image. He had, this was like the beginning of when he started to do some children's films. My point is, he's so off-putting at the beginning of this film. It's wonderful, and I love his commitment to it. And I think the first act of this film is just about perfect. I love the setup here. I love them going to London and meeting Grandma Wendy again. And Wendy, there's such a weight to those moments. It has a lot to do with the fact that Maggie Smith is magnificent in this role. I mean, she's not just good. There's a soulfulness to her line readings. And it's funny, too, because Maggie Smith was really not that old when she did this. She was in old age makeup.
Oh, she was in old age makeup?
She was old
okay,
yeah.
I was going to ask you because I'm like, wow. She looks the same.
Yeah, she looks exactly the way she does
like
now. The way she
looked
looked
age
in
and
this
makeup is so accurate.
Yeah,
because she literally looks like that now.
Yeah, no, she really wasn't that old when she made this movie. Now she just, it was very prophetic makeup and whatever. She's still lovely.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, Smith is so, magnificent is the word I wrote in my notes. I love her performance in this movie. It's so good. There's such a weight to what she brings to it. And because of some of the things we mentioned, there's some things about the role that are icky, strange,
a little weird,
but she's playing it from. This is a fantasy, and her performance and the movie's tone, I think overall finds that fine line. So when things do get dark, and we'll talk about that, the film itself doesn't completely turn on its audience.
Yeah. So Jack, Peter's son, he just keeps being disappointed by his dad. His dad is like, I'm going to come to your game. And then he totally misses the game. He sends his office assistant to film his baseball game. And it's so lame. And they're flying and, they're just not connecting.
Do you think Peter Banning takes the time to watch the video cassette of his son's games later?
There's no way. If he doesn't have time to go to a game, he's not watching it later. Ridiculous.
Hold on, honey. I gotta watch this. He's watching it by himself late at night. There's no way. No way.
Oh, and he's also afraid to fly.
Right.
That's the other detail.
It's a great touch.
Yeah. He can't. He's just so nervous about flying. So, okay. So they're in London and there's a big event for Granny Wendy. She's being honored. There's a new wing at the hospital being named after her. And that's the night that the kids get kidnapped. And when the parents come home, the kids are gone and there's a note from Captain Hook. And it's like, oh, what? This is actually real.
One of the things that astonished me about this sequence is learning that Nana is still alive. Nana is like the cat in the Mariah Carey movie Glitter. How in the world is this dog still alive after all these decades?
Maybe she had babies and that's her baby. Maybe that's great
They
Nana.
call it Nana. It's just like every time there's a litter, they call them all Nana, and they just. Yeah. And the one that survives gets to live outside in that little house.
I guess.
That's the whole of the movie.
It's a really cute dog, though.
So yes, so the sequence, it's strange because we were both young when we saw this, but I remember even the sequence where Grandma Wendy is being recognized as someone who took in all these orphanages. It's so moving.
Oh yeah,
I love the way it's shot. It's funny watching Robin Williams be so unfunny. Mm-hmm. He's on stage. He's awkward. He's sweaty. He's stumbling over his words. Wow, this this is acting. This is one of our greatest stand-up performances of all time, acting like he's never been in front of a mic before. But, you know, the shots of all the orphans standing up, I find it so moving. I remember even as a kid thinking, like, this is really good stuff. And then we get to the abduction, which is, it's interesting because I love the way it's shot. It's the color is very rich. The way it's staged is really nice. It's a visually arresting sequence, so much so that it was the teaser trailer for this movie. The scene where the kids were abducted, that was the teaser trailer.
Where they're in bed and their covers fly off.
Yeah, that was the whole teaser for the movie, which is one of the great things about this film, the way it was promoted. Like, Spielberg made sure, like, you did not see Dustin Hoffman as Captain Hook. Like, really, you didn't see Julia Roberts. Everything was going to be a surprise until you saw the film. But yeah, so that sequence, which is very strong, but it's peculiar because it opens up. It looks very supernatural. There's you know,
like green
lights and
wind.
The covers are literally flying off the beds. But then when they get inside, it looks like Captain Hook literally showed up and literally just like took his hook and just slashed the crap out of this apartment.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that too. I was like, well, wait. Did he go through the bedroom window? Because that window flies open and, you know, you think... But then the front door opens and he goes up the stairs. It's like...
was he just so fat? Like, a fax machine. Like, was he just astonished by modern technology? No, he just walked around this apartment, just scratched the hell out of it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I found that strange. But who cares? I mean...
I know. It begins. It almost looks like Tinkerbell is the one doing the abducting. It's so fantastical the way it starts off, and then you see it, and it's like, oh, this is more of like a real crime.
Well, yeah, and I think they kind of want to leave you a little bit in the dark about it, though, because we haven't been to Tinkerbell, hasn't shown up yet. We don't know about Neverland yet.
But there is Toodles. We haven't mentioned Toodles, who is one of the surviving Lost Boys, still alive, living with Grandma Wendy. This character, the actor is great, and he was later in the Robin Williams film Toys, which is another film for another time. But the character of Toodles is a psychopath. I've never liked this character. He's literally and figuratively crazy.
Yeah, well,
he's just hanging around he's hanging around the house. Like, this guy belongs in an institution, or, you know, it's baggage the movie doesn't need. Does not know what to do with this character. I've never found him endearing.
Okay.
I want to be very clear about it. Like, not to bury the lead, I do adore this film for so many reasons, but I think it is flawed. There are things to talk about. Toodles is one of these things. I've never liked this character.
Okay, well, I think they only have him there to bring back his marbles. So
he's completely useless. Like, he just sits as this elaborate abduction. I mean, like, Captain Hook, his old enemy, is like scratching the heck out of Grandma Wendy's apartment.
We don't see any of that, so we don't really know. Like, maybe he just like fainted.
But the housekeeper lies is like, and the children were screaming.
Oh yeah. It's really scary, I thought.
It is
for kids especially.
And you know, maybe the fact that it's so vague helps make it plausible, because I mean, just was it like a flying pirate ship? Like, how in the world do they even pull this off?
I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to know, because it's supposed to just be this like magical thing. I mean, it's Captain Hook coming from Never Never Land. Yeah,
exactly. You know, you're right. The more I even talk about it, I'm thinking, like, did he see a TV? Like, what is that I see?
Oh man, the critic is trying to make sense of the abduction.
I've had 30 years to think about this movie. So yeah, I'm trying to look at it. I'm trying to look at some different things, because I'm overly familiar with the film.
All right, so they call the cops, and you know,
Inspector Phil Collins on the case.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea that was Phil Collins. But we don't need to go like moment by moment, but you know, this is where Grandma Wendy is trying to tell Peter who he is, and she's like, what do you remember? And he's like, well, I remember, you know, you finding me parents and them adopting me. She's like, you were 13. Like, do you remember anything before that?
Yeah.
And he really doesn't. He has like no memories. So that's kind of crazy. And then Tinkerbell comes on the scene.
Well, hold on. Wait a second. First of all, let's be very clear. Grandma Wendy, not only does she tell Peter Banning that he's Peter Pan, but she does make kind of a move at him. It is a bit of a pass.
She does, yeah.
With his wife just a couple doors away, by the way.
I know, it is a little bit strange. She's like, Moira, go make some tea. All right, Peter, let's get to it.
In her bedroom. So
well, if the subtitles were not, I wouldn't have caught this move.
I remember even as a kid, because look, I mean, I don't know anyone in 1991 who saw this not knowing that Robin Williams is playing Peter Pan. So even as a kid, it made sense to me. Of course, this old woman who used to be Wendy Darling is still going to be in love with Peter Pan. It always made sense to me. It didn't feel inappropriate to me until watching it now and thinking like Moira Banning is just like 2 doors away making tea. Meanwhile, Grandma Wendy is like having, putting the moves on Peter Pan. But to your point though, she shows him apparently the J.M. Barrie book with an illustration of him as he used to be. And that moment, it's always given me chills. I love that moment so much to see this is who you used to be. This is a little sprite with red hair and he's floating. It's beautiful. Yeah. And I think at that point, everything up to this point, I'm like, even the things I mentioned that feel a little implausible, I think this is masterful. This is everything I want from a Spielberg film. This is everything I wanted from the Spielberg Peter Pan movie. And then Julia Roberts shows up.
Yeah, and then Julia Roberts shows up, and Peter's been drinking, and he thinks he's like hallucinating. Yeah. And he's like, it's a crazy bug. And what do you think about Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell?
I really like her a lot. I wish she doesn't have Justin Bieber's hair.
Honestly,
I don't like the wig.
The hair is the only unfortunate thing about her performance.
And not to get ahead of it, but later in the film, she's got this beautiful flock of red hair later on.
Like curly.
Yeah, and it's lovely, and it looks like her hair. I don't know why they make her look like Justin Bieber through most of this film. It's always bothered because it's obviously a bad wig. And Tinkerbell is lovely. She was lovely in the Disney cartoon, which we should probably talk more about that.
No, we don't need to talk about that.
All right. Well, anyway, Tinkerbell I've always thought was...
Well, Tinkerbell's got a cute little bun, And
all her magic, she can't get a good haircut?
Yeah, that's true.
She cutting her own hair in Neverland? Yeah, it's very peculiar.
Well, as we will talk about, there's like no women in Neverland.
Yeah, no kidding.
She's like the only one. There's like Captain Hook's hookers. And then her.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah,
and the mermaids. Like, who's cutting anybody's hair?
Right, that's
Nobody.
True. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're right. And she probably has to, what is she doing? Like cutting her hair with like a real human-sized knife? Yeah.
Yeah, like real human-sized scissors.
Yeah. You make a good point. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So her hair is unfortunate, but it's okay. Her performance is great.
Yes.
And Peter.
I don't know about great. It's very good. It's really good. Is it though? Is she that great? It's a lot of reaction shots. It's a lot of her smiling.
It's a lot of her smiling.
Lots of Julia Roberts. Like it's Julia Roberts. Get her to smile again.
I do feel the emotion. There are some moments where she's obviously in love with Peter still. And it's been years since she's seen him. Like, how many years?
But again, like I said earlier, I feel like this is baggage the movie doesn't quite know what to do with.
Well, I think the screenwriter probably wanted to address the fact that Tinkerbell has always been in love with Peter.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've seen in other movies. And so to not really talk about it, I think would have been lame.
Yeah, and no, I agree. Like it's a vital part of the story, as we'll get to. It's established that Tinkerbell basically rescued Peter Pan, literally rescued him, took him to Neverland. She's the one who basically made him the magical, mythical figure that he becomes. And of course, Wendy, we have all the baggage of knowing about the prior adventure. So clearly, it's all established. I like that it's there. I just wish something more became of it. The moment we'll eventually talk about where Tinkerbell is Pan-sized and she's able to have a conversation with him, something more should have come of that scene. And as it is, it's just like it feels like busy work for a movie waiting to get to the big stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for a movie this long, there should have been some things cut out.
I wouldn't have mind maybe 15 minutes less of the Lost Boys and more of figuring out, who is Peter Pan really in love with? And can Peter Pan be in love with one person? He's how old? And he's, his sense of love and youthfulness is so skewered, I imagine. Not to mention the fact that he's been living this middle-aged man existence and he suddenly realizes, Like this magical, beautiful fairy, this pixie saved me. Meanwhile, there's a girl who I got to watch age as a human. He means like the Highlander. He got to watch, Wendy in real time, or like a vampire.
I love the Highlander.
We'll do a Highlander episode. And to be clear, for those of you curious, like, what is she talking? She's talking about Adrian Paul. You're not talking about Christopher Lambert. You're talking about Adrian Paul.
Don't judge me.
Okay.
Okay.
So moving on. So all right. So Julia Roberts, who yes, she is good in this film. She is. As Tinkerbell, she takes Peter to Neverland, and it's one of my favorite shots of the film where she picks him up in a blanket, pulls him through London. And by the way, definitely one of these things where I know a little too much about this movie. Her fairy dust falls on a couple and they start to float.
I know.
Do you know who the couple is?
No.
George Lucas and Carrie Fisher.
Oh.
Yeah. You can't quite see them, but it's them.
I mean, it really, literally doesn't matter who the couple is.
It's cool. It's cool to know that, though, isn't it?
You see silhouettes.
It's cool, though. It's nerdy.
All right.
And then there's that shot where she's pulling him, into Never Never. And it's like a new sunset is forming. It's visually rich.
It is really
the visual effects are old, but I still love the look of this movie. I do.
Even though the visual effects are old, I feel like it's not cheesy at all.
It's a fantasy, so I'm willing to, when you have like the blue screen effects that are clearly someone standing in front of a blue screen.
Yeah. There's a few moments of that.
A few moments, but yeah, I'm willing to go with it. So yeah, so now Peter Banning is in Neverland.
Yeah. So he's like, where am I? What's going on? He has to dress up like a pirate, and he ends up following Smee with Captain Hook's hook, and he gets on the ship and is basically like, oh my gosh, those are my kids. He has my kids. It's
interesting because I think John Williams' score, and this is one of my favorite scores. You've actually caught me a few times like writing, and I have the score playing. I think the score really helps keep this movie whimsical and fun because it is about a man whose children are abducted.
Yeah.
In their beds.
There are so many moments where I was like, wow, that got really dark.
Yeah, but the score keeps it light. Even after like Inspector Phil Collins is, dusting the place for prints, and it goes on to the scenes afterwards. I mean, it should be a lot more traumatic, and it isn't. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Williams' score is really helping the pace of this thing. It feels like a fairy tale, and it doesn't get, as we've said, like too edgy.
Yeah, I think it doesn't get too traumatic because Grandma Wendy is like, you have to go to Neverland, you have to fly, you have to fight. And you're like, and I'm sure the parents are like, I'm sorry, what?
There's a lot of absurd comedy in this, and I think it helps that when this movie wants to be funny, it's really funny. Yeah. We'll get to the Lost Boys, but anyway. So
then we meet Captain Hook, and I mean, I don't know about you, but I love Dustin Hoffman as Captain Hook.
Yeah, I think it's a flawless performance. I do. He had a couple weird years. He was in this movie called Ishtar, which most would say would almost ruin his career, and it didn't ruin it. It's a cult film now, but it was a big flop for him, and he kind of laid low for a few years. He did his buddy Warren Beatty's movie Dick Tracy, a gangster movie called Billy Bathgate, which was a big Disney flop, and then this thing, and it was such a strange bit of casting, and yeah, I love what he does here. His hook is psychotic, and I love that about him. And it helps, obviously. It's a two-man thing because Bob Hoskins is fantastic.
Yes,
not only fantastic, I'd say definitive. This is the definitive Mr. Smee for me. I think Hoskins is so good in this, and the fact that so much of Hoffman's work is a double team with him and Hoskins. I love the two of them.
Yeah, they're really good.
So Peter Pan shows up, and now he's a middle-aged man, and Captain Hook basically emasculates him from the other pirates.
He's like, you're not Peter Pan. And Smee is like, yeah, this is him. I'll show you the scar, where you...
The one time they reference Tiger Lily.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's no Indians, there's no Tiger Lily, there's no Indian chief, there's no Native Americans in this. And, I think they were wise to say, that's a problematic area. Even in 1991, I feel like that's a very politically correct choice not to have...
Well, I think it would overcomplicate an already long movie because, you're going to have a kidnapping, you're going to have the Lost Boys, and you're going to have Native Americans.
And they make time. They make time for a food fight in this movie. So there's a lot of time in this movie.
They don't have time to add additional characters and set pieces and stuff. So But this is where the kids, he's like, if you can climb up, fly. He's like, fly up there and touch your kids. Like they're in like a, I don't know.
A net.
Yeah. And he's like, and then you can take them right now, but he can't fly. And so he climbs up, the ship, and he can't reach them.
It's so sad.
It's so sad.
It's so pathetic.
Maggie's like, come on, Daddy, Mommy could do it. Like, yeah, because moms are awesome. But it's just a really sad moment where he like literally can't save his kids.
And then Cook actually decides just to murder them right then. And I said, this is great. He's such a jerk.
Yeah, he's like, kill them all.
Just kill them.
Kill them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Tinkerbell steps in and, she's like, give me some time and I'll bring back the pan that you remember and you can have your war, And so he agrees. And
a great visual where they shake hands. She shakes his giant hook. I love that visual.
Yeah, that is a good one. And so then now we have a countdown. We have the 3-day clock to get Peter Pan to remember who he is so that he can save his kids.
Before we get to the Lost Boys, there's a bit of business, probably more than the movie needs. I mean, no wonder this was the most expensive film of its day. There's a bit where Peter Pan falls off the ship, plunges into the water, and he's saved by these 3 beautiful mermaids. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love this sequence. The movie does not need it. It's just excessive fantasy visuals. Excessive. It's wonderful. But then I had a problem with the movie because I never noticed this before. So how long was he with the mermaids? Because the next shot is remember he's getting pulled up to the Lost Boys, cabana, whatever this place is. They're Club Med, they're YMCA. And then he's up there and suddenly the Lost Boys know that Peter Pan is there, and Peter Pan sees Tinkerbell in her little clock house, which is adorable. She's sleeping. And she says, "Oh, you're alive." I'm like, how long was he with the mermaids? What happened with the mermaids? That's a whole other movie.
I totally thought the same thing because I was like, okay, the mermaids are saving him and they all like kiss him and give him air and he's like, whoa, this is great. And then
is there a scene missing? Was there more to the mermaids? Was there a mermaid battle?
I know. Do they like take him on a tour of their
Because now
lagoon?
She's sleeping. It's like you just saw him. You were just on the ship and now you're taking a nap in your clock house. You should have told the Lost Boys he was coming. It's weird. It's, oh, you're alive. You know that he's alive. She couldn't save him when he was underwater. And then she flew and took a nap.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, Peter's under the water. He might have drowned. I'm so tired.
Yeah, it's an editing. I mean, I assume maybe they took 10 minutes out right there, but it felt really funky.
Because you guys have 3 days. How it couldn't have been very long.
Yeah, because
only 3 days.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, it's strange. Because I mean, certainly at this point, I mean, I was totally in it too, and that moment just I've never noticed it before. Now that I'm older and I think I've just seen more movies, and just think, yeah, that's
it's pretty funny.
That's very peculiar that she took a nap in the time that he might have drowned. Yeah. I mean, did she know that the mermaids? I mean, and again, what was going on with the mermaids?
I'm like, wait, this is the person you're in love with, and you're just gonna go take a nap? That's weird.
So anyway, she goes, "You're alive," and then we meet the Lost Boys.
And okay, so we get to see the Lost Boys treehouse, and I just remember as a kid being like, this place is awesome. Like there's, I don't know, they have like a track.
What do they not have? They've got basketball, they've got a skate park.
They have snow, they have penguins. So basically the Lost Boys are trying to, like, they decide they're going to kill him.
They're going to murder him.
Yeah.
And they're ruled by Rufio.
And he's the only one with a sword, though. Like
he has Peter Pan's sword.
Yeah, it seems like he's the only one who's actually going to, like, do any killing. Because these Lost Boys chase Peter around and, like, I don't know. They, like, throw, like, paint at him.
Well, they throw candy apples on arrows at his crotch repeatedly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like they have bows and arrows or...
Yeah, it's all very whimsical. I mean, if he were to die, it would be like the wackiest Tim Burton-y death.
Yeah. I mean, he honestly has a better chance of just like falling and cracking his head open.
Oh, yeah.
Or like pulling his groin muscle.
He's constantly talking about how he's bad back. Yeah, I mean, clearly he's going to die.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically old and overweight,
Yeah.
And he's trying to run away from these kids. It's ridiculous.
They're chasing him on skateboards. Yeah, I mean,
and then there's moments where they're like, play with us. So they want to kill him, but they want him to play with them.
And Tinkerbell is the one who she apparently speaks to them individually and says that we need to put this guy.
This is Peter Pan. You have to help me. His kids are here. We have to, But he makes a joke about this being the Lord of the Flies camp.
Right. It's one of the many times I'm like, I'll bet that was not in the script. I'll bet Robin Williams and Spielberg's like, perfect, keep it. I don't care. Who cares? It's Peter Pan.
He kind of mumbled it under his breath. No one's gonna notice.
No one's gonna. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of that in this.
You can put in the subtitles, but who's gonna watch that?
Who would watch that? So yeah, it's Rufio. I want to talk briefly about Dante Bosco as Rufio. So much charisma to this kid. I don't know why this wasn't something that led to whatever else, a sitcom. So much charisma, and oddly enough, a week ago, I saw a film that Dante Bosco wrote and directed and starred in called The Fabulous Filipino Brothers. So he's still around and he's making films and he's out there. But he's still, he's still known for this role, which is amazing. But
Rufio!
Yeah, and he's
I bet people say that to him all the time.
I'm sure he loves that.
Hates it.
I'm sure he signed that a lot of times. But the point I really want to make is that the rest of the Lost Boys are interchangeable. Only in the sense that they're all wacky kids who are defined. You got the twins. You get the kid who's dressed up like a business. You got a character who's named Thud because he's the big one.
You got the Italian one.
You got
the redhead one with curly hair.
Yeah. So it's on the one hand, I get it. I mean,
there's a lot of diversity.
It's again, this is the most PC Peter Pan ever. At the same time, and I get it too. I mean, I'm sure Spielberg thought this way, the kids watching this are definitely going to see themselves in the Lost Boys. But it's weird. It's a weird world they live in. It's weird that they're all contemporary kids because they're all ageless and they've all been there. Time doesn't mean anything in Neverland. So it's still I
mean, but new kids could have come.
Yeah, and I guess modernize them, I guess.
I mean, new kids could have come, and then I think a bunch of them were adopted out by Granny Wendy. So I don't think they're all original Lost Boys.
I don't know that the film needed to explain this. I think probably the bigger problem for me is that, I don't know, this part of the film is just so painfully corny, I think. It's really, really freaking corny. The training montage, you are the Peter Pan. I can't stand that part of the film. It's so corny.
Well, it's funny because, so Robin Williams clearly has padding on under his clothes to make him look overweight, right? Yeah. And then he does this training montage, and it's not like it's Rocky where this training is going on for months. No, he's literally has one day.
So this is probably what happened over the course of an hour.
Yeah. And then he has no shirt on, and
which is freaky.
And he's totally hairless.
He's one of the most famously, he just did the Fisher King prior to this, so I've seen him naked, and he's covered in hair.
Totally. So he's got a six-pack.
Yeah.
So in one day, he goes from being having a dad bod to having a six-pack. And he's...
Whatever that workout is, clearly those Lost Boys, they've got it all figured out.
It must be some magical workout. Maybe some of Tinkerbell's fairy dust helped him shed some pounds. And hair. Hours.
And all of it. I'd love to see the scene where Tinkerbell, it's the 40-year-old version where Tinkerbell gives him a wax. That's the deleted scene I want to see.
Rufio! Instead of Kelly Clarkson. Yeah, so he has to learn how to fly.
So when I do that, and meanwhile, the stuff that I thought has aged really well. I love the scenes of Captain Hook teaching Peter Pan's kids to hate him.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
They're so
much.
funny. Yeah, where the version of school, and also the fact that again it's Hoffman and Hoskins just really killing it.
Because the lesson is why parents hate their children.
Yeah.
Now pay attention, class. We have a lot to go over. Lesson 1. Why parents hate their children. Anyone?
Doesn't Mommy read to us every night?
You, the cute little urchin in the front row. Won't you share your thoughts with the whole class?
Yes, I said Mommy reads to us every night because she loves us very much.
Loves you? Isn't that the L word, Captain? Oh, yes. No, child. I think your mother reads to you every night in order to stupefy you to sleep. So that she and Daddy could sit down for 3 measly minutes without you, and your mindless, inexhaustible, unstoppable, repetitive, and nagging demands. He took my toy. She hit my bear. I want a potty. I want a cookie. I want to stay up. I want me. Mine. Now. Can't you understand, child? They tell you stories to shut you up and conk you out.
That's not true, Jack. You're a liar!
Lie? Me? Never. The truth is far too much fun. Oh, my child, before you were born, your parents would stay up all night together just to see the sunrise. Don't be frightened. Maggie, before you were born, they were happier. They were free. It's me, Flunk the Maggot.
Abso-flogging-lutely.
Come in. Hurry, I'm a crystal.
An F? He gave me an F.
Maggie is like, you're a liar. And then he gives her an F. And it's hilarious that she even cares. But he
Is this going to transfer over to my school record?
Yeah. Are you
monsters?
I know. Is this on my official transcripts? So then he has her taken away because she's not being indoctrinated by his propaganda enough.
And this is something that disturbed me because you pointed this out. Like, oh, so she's just going to be alone with the pirates.
Yeah, I was like, she's literally the only young girl on this whole island.
Yeah.
I don't think she's alone with the pirates because they show her kind of singing a song by herself. I just think
But she's surrounded by these evil pirates.
She's just alone in general. I don't think any.
And she sings about it too.
And she sings about it.
Yeah.
And then all the pirates are like, "Mommy."
Again, it's a fantasy. It's whimsical, but yeah, the fact you pointed it out, and I thought, oh, that's I'm not comfortable with that at all.
Yeah, but what she says is, Jack, Neverland makes you forget. Don't forget.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really interesting. It's not something, I don't know, that maybe I remember it every time I watch it, but
I think the timeline never really connected with me until I watched it with you. Because, I mean, I just, the other day I was talking to my students about Patty Hearst being, locked in a closet for 50 days and she emerges a different person. And this is like the fastest Stockholm Syndrome ever. I mean, 3 days and this kid's like, yeah, Captain Hook.
It's like, Captain Hook's my new dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very quick change.
But I think it also has to do with the fact that it's Neverland and time basically doesn't exist. And he's already like probably traumatized by his absent father. And then now Captain Hook is brainwashing him.
And then now he's in this fantastical world where pirates are real. Yeah.
And Captain Hook's like, I will watch your baseball games and we'll cheer you on. Your dad never did that. It honestly doesn't take too much for Jack to just be like, hello, Daddy.
Yeah, it's very peculiar. Speaking of peculiar, this is something that jumped out because we'll get to the specifics of the baseball game, which is kind of the beginning of it's like the end of the second act, and we're about to get into it because Peter Pan, the change is happening. Oh, we should talk about the food fight.
Oh, the food fight.
We gotta talk about the food fight because I know you love that scene. You were like looking forward to that. Yeah.
Well, just because I have good memories as a kid, like who doesn't want to have a food fight at the table, But it's not even the food fight. It's Peter Pan and Rufio just like
trash talking
each other.
Most PG rated trash talking. Although Williams gets a few in here.
So because he's like, you know, Rufio's just saying like mostly nonsense words.
Right.
And Robin Williams is like, chemistry teacher. And then he calls him a nearsighted gynecologist.
How that ended up in the final cut. I mean, this movie is, it's 142 minutes. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they just let fly in the movie.
I think some of these insults, like me and my sister, like we like memorize and we like say to each other, you know.
But it is, you know, there's a lot of moments that can be. It's the nature of the film, but it's magical. The moment where Peter Pan imagines that he's flicking food onto Rufio and the food actually happens and the movie suddenly materializes. It's a magical moment. I remember even as a kid, like, wow, everybody in the theater being in awe of that moment.
Yeah. No, I mean it's really great. It's when he finally lets his imagination start working again, because he's like, what are they doing? There's no food. And Tinkerbell's like, this used to be your favorite game, like, come on. And finally he gets into it. I don't know, I loved it. No, I the moment worked for me too. And then we get to the baseball game, and we should, as you mentioned, Captain Hook has a harpy. Is that the right way? I just called her a hooker. I don't know.
Her name is Drusilla, is established. And it's a peculiar moment where she has a nearly orgasmic reaction to his hook.
Yeah. He's like, Drusilla, glove me. And so she has to take his hook off and put his, like, glove attachment on or something. And it's so weird.
How did I miss this at the age of 14? A very peculiar moment. And I wonder, too, is that moment there to establish that Hook is into her and not Smee? Because, I mean, it looks like a very domestic partnership that he has with Smee.
I think...
And I don't think the movie is implying that, but I'm just saying, like, I wonder if she's there, because she only has one scene, one line, one anything. No. And the rest of it, is he never not alone with Smee?
I don't know, but Smee is there to, like, listen to him. And
keep him from killing himself.
Keep him from committing suicide. I mean, he does say that. He's, like, ready to end it all, and it's so crazy.
It's great. Now, you know, but I do wonder if Drusilla, who's really a useless character, it is peculiar that, that the movie makes a point to.
Maybe they're just trying to let us know that there are some women in Neverland, but what, I don't know, because it seems like Neverland is a lot of masculine energy.
This is the dude's paradise. Dude's Cove
paradise. You know, we got some mermaids, we got some fairies, but you know, there's not a lot of girls around.
At all. So the baseball scene, I wonder, because I think it's meant to be kind of a nudge, wink, wink at the Pittsburgh Pirates in real life, because this is a baseball team called the Pirates, and peculiarly, they have uniforms.
Oh yeah, they do have uniforms.
Because it's established. There's a scene we've kind of skipped over Amber Scott. So Amber Scott plays Maggie. And I want to mention this moment for a few reasons. One is that she sings the song When You're Alone, which is the Oscar-nominated song from this movie. I've always loved the moment. I love the way she does it. I love the way it's incorporated into the story, because it's, you know, it's talking about her anguish and her sadness. Two rumors about this film that are kind of unfounded, but I think they're true because they've been around for so long. I remember reading about it when this film came out. One is that this was a pet project between Steven Spielberg and Michael Jackson. Speaking of which, full circle, that they wanted to make a Peter Pan movie together. The other thing about this movie that often gets thrown out, I don't know if this is true. I think it might be, again, because it keeps coming up. Apparently, John Williams wrote this as a musical. And the rumor is that this is the only song that survived, but that when you listen to the score, it has such a musical-like feel to it. You get the sense that this was always intended to be a musical. And, you know, there's so many scenes in this movie that feel like musical numbers, the way they're staged.
I'm so glad this wasn't a musical. I think that would have been a disaster.
Well, I mean, this is a year before Newsies, so yeah, this was not a good time for movie musicals. In any case, the main reason I brought up this moment is little Maggie is singing, and the son Jack is watching her sing. Smee comes up behind him, puts his arm around him and kind of distracts him away, and he's like, "Tell me about this baseball." So clearly, I mean, was it the night before? I mean, does Smee have like a sweatshop where he learned, because now he knows what baseball is, and we got to do this in order to just fool this kid.
Oh man. Wow, you were really thinking about these details.
Well, the thing that's bizarre about this, and we'll definitely get more into that because I have another point about the reality of this film, but it's established that Mr. Smee has records that he shows to Hook to say like, hey, this is what's going on with the kids. The dad's been missing the games. He has like a file that he shows Captain Hook.
Yeah, there must be some way that they can see what's going on.
Like a crystal ball, like the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz.
No, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but clearly they can like go back to Earth.
Yeah.
And like maybe he sent somebody, or maybe he went himself and like gathered up information.
But my point really is just that I found it peculiar that this evening he's like, "Tell me about this thing called baseball," and then the next day they all have these fantastic uniforms.
Maybe he was just saying that to like distract Jack because he's trying to keep his mind off of home and keep it on Neverland, and so maybe he was just lying to him and he knows about baseball.
Or maybe Jack's like, "Well, you see, you got this first base and the second base and the pitcher's mound." And Mr. Smee's like, "Yeah, keep talking, kid."
They already knew how to play.
And meanwhile, this is why the pirates are so tired the next day, because they've been up all night making uniforms.
Oh, yeah, they're really sewing. Yeah, that's what they were doing.
Again, all these cut scenes that we need back in the movie.
Unanswered questions. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay, so Peter Pan is watching the game, and Jack hits a home run, and Captain Hook is like, "That's my boy, that's my Jack," and Peter's like, "That's my Jack. Like, what's happening?" So he just he was supposed to steal the hook and crow, and he doesn't do it because he's so sad and upset, and that's when he goes back and he's like, "I gotta fly," and he ends up finding the original treehouse that he had when he was there with Michael and John and Wendy and the original Lost Boys. And so magically Tinkerbell is there to help him remember.
This is, for me, when the movie starts to really find itself again. Because I think the movie has peaks and valleys. And I've never liked, as I've said, I've never liked a lot of the Lost Boys stuff. But I really do love this sequence where he finds the thimble. And the way Williams plays it, it really is like out of Hamlet, like poor Yorick, I knew him well, Horatio. It feels that way with the way he's playing it. He's doing it with such honesty. And I love the flashback that ensues. It's really one of my favorite sequences Spielberg has ever staged, where the baby carriage, this beautiful baby, is crying.
Oh, and yeah, because he says, "I remember my mother."
Remembers his mother.
Yeah.
I do love that sequence, and we see how Tinkerbell ultimately rescued him as a baby. And the detail that honestly brings a tear to my eye, and it also means that they understand this story, and the logic of this story is that as Tinkerbell is literally carrying this little baby away, the baby is clutching onto his teddy bear. It's such a great storybook visual. Yeah, love that sequence. And then you get into the flashback where Peter Pan, the young Peter Pan, is played by Dustin Hoffman's son.
Oh.
Yeah. And of course, and Wendy Darling is played by Gwyneth Paltrow, one of the first things she ever did. I mean, what a really cool, early film for her. And I love these sequences. I really do. I love the shot of young Peter Pan going back to his real parents' house, and the window is closed, and he can't quite get in.
Sad.
I love this stuff. I really do. I mean, this is, for a movie that is really about it, it's a sequel to Peter Pan, but I feel like the visuals are there. I love the shot of again, Dustin Hoffman's son playing Peter Pan. When he's wrestling with a shadow, it looks just like the Disney animated film.
Yeah.
I loved all that stuff so much. But yeah, this is one of my favorite parts of the film.
And that's when he sees Wendy grow up, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, and
you're Maggie Smith.
You're old." And then she's like, "That's my granddaughter Moira asleep in the bed." Okay, so then he sees who he's going to be married to, right? His wife.
Yeah.
But meeting her for the first time, and he's like, "I want to give her a kiss," and she's like, no thimbles. No, she's going to be so upset.
Enough with the thimbles, Peter.
Enough with the thimbles.
We've done this. This is so embarrassing.
Yeah, she's going to be so sad.
Do I have to explain this to you again with the thimble?
It's not a real kiss. She's going to be so sad when she realizes she can't keep you. And he's like, no, a real kiss. And like, what? Wendy just lets Peter just like kiss her sleeping granddaughter? It's
very peculiar. It is.
I mean, I hate the word problematic, but it's a little strange.
It is. I think there's a way to deal with this. I think if you had the scenes, and the movie really probably does need it. Probably. You really do need the scenes of Peter Pan being acclimated to the real world, him being in an orphanage, or him having, whatever, working at a supermarket as a stock boy and meeting. Well, I'm just saying, like, that should have been the way you introduce Moira to Peter Pan. Oh. I'm just saying, like, yeah, having, I agree with you.
It's like he flies in, sees that Maggie Smith is old, that goes, Wendy's old.
Oh, okay.
He's
no,
like, you're
dusty.
This is not going to happen for us. Oh, granddaughter, great, I'm going to kiss her.
She looks just like you. No, I do think... I think by Moira, the wife, and Peter Pan, I think they should have met when I think it should have established...
She was awake?
Well, yeah, conscious would have been good. It is so Twilight. Yeah, it would have worked if he had met Wendy when they were, in school together. Established that Peter Pan is now Peter Banning. He's a human. She loves him despite the fact that he's stiff. He has lost his, man, it seems like there's a child inside of you. You can't get out.
Yeah, well, because it seems like in this version, he falls in love with Moira. It's like love at first sight. And then Wendy is like, okay, well, if you want to marry her, like, you have to stay here and I'm going to find you parents and you have to grow up in this world now. Like, you're going to... And he decides, like, okay, I'm going to grow up. And he says in this movie he wanted to be a dad. And they kind of just cut to him, when Jack is born. But there's a whole lot of story we don't have, about him and Moira and him being adopted, growing up. Okay, then what happens? And then they, do they go to college together? I mean, we don't know any of this.
Yeah, just having it would have helped the love triangle, because now it's a love triangle between Wendy and Moira. It would have helped if she was, as you've said, it would have helped if they established that she goes, I'm going to help you be a real boy. I'm going to help you be a real man.
A man.
And when and maybe like we'll grow up together, we'll get married, whatever. And then it's like, surprise, he's in love with the granddaughter. I think that could have worked, as opposed to, hey, old bags. Ooh, who's that over there?
Yeah, it's so weird.
You could put on your cold cream. I'm going to check out
your granddaughter.
Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't... I understand they're trying to be very neat and tidy and quick with the storytelling.
Well, it's like,
there's got to be a better way to do this.
I mean, okay, is there a 3-hour version of this movie then? Because there's a whole lot of holes.
Yeah.
That I'm now just realizing.
Yeah, and there's some more that we'll get into, but so yeah, he finds his happy thought, which of course
is Jack being a dad,
being a father,
and then he snaps out of his.
And he starts to fly. And this was the reason I saw the film twice when it was in theaters, because I wanted to see the scenes of Robin Williams flying around, which I thought was just so magical and wonderful.
That's so cute, babe.
Well, I mean, this is a widescreen movie, and I loved seeing this film on the big screen, and even watching it tonight. Like, yeah, this is and it's funny too, because it's like Superman, where it's like, no, he's just in the suit. Like, don't ask. Like, he's just wearing the tights.
He's just in the tights.
Yeah.
And his hair is suddenly cool.
It looks like he's been on a motorcycle for hours. He's got that kind of hair. And it's great. And he's flying around. And he's enjoying it. And obviously it's a blue screen, but I don't care. Like, I love the way Neverland looks. There's a rainbow. And yeah, he comes to the Lost Boys and says, like, hey, what's up? I'm back.
Yeah, he's like... Yeah. And then Rufio's like, you are the pen, and gives him his sword. And then they crow together, and it's amazing.
It is. It's good stuff.
And then
the camera pans back because like it's clearly Spielberg over directing so hard, because the kids are celebrating. Robin Williams lifts his sword in the air. He and Rufio are bonding. The kids are dancing. The camera pulls back. And then like the skateboard thing like flies past the camera. It's like, Spielberg, calm down. We're moved, okay? Relax. We like it.
There's one lost boy who's like, forget this. The skateboard is open. Rufio's busy.
My time to shine.
Yeah.
I never get to go on it.
Exactly. I never get to ride this thing because stupid Rufio is always on it. And you know what?
I've never liked Peter Pan.
Yeah, who cares? I'm doing this. I totally thought that too.
It's like the one lost boy. They're like, oh, we don't like him.
But then, okay, so going back to the Neverland makes you forget thing, it's almost like now that Peter Pan realizes he's Peter Pan, he's forgotten his mission.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that's another thing. It's not quite clear exactly how this works because you're right. Like, all of a sudden, Robin Williams is playing it like he's in that movie Jack again, like he's a little boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's like he's extremely childlike, almost to a alarming degree, and he shows up to see Tinkerbell.
And this is when Tinkerbell
this is when this weird love story kicks in.
Do you remember you have kids? You know, and yeah, she breaks her house. She turns into a human size,
a gigantic human size,
person.
And by the way, and as I said, like this is where Julia Roberts looks amazing at this point. She looks like Julia Roberts, as opposed to Justin Bieber. Yeah, and she's wearing this beautiful, she looks like almost like Cinderella's fairy godmother.
Yeah, it's a very pretty dress.
Yeah,
and the hair is on point. Yeah,
and she kisses him, and Peter Pan, she basically says, "I love you," and he goes, "I love you, Moira," and he realizes, "I love my wife, I love my kids."
He's like, "More," and she goes to like kiss him again. He's like, "Moira." I love Moira.
So he basically realizes that no, like I'm actually. It's like this realization of he gets to be Peter Pan and Peter Banning at the same time. It's like it's all there. It's peculiar because you wonder if does the adult aspect of him undermine the Peter Pan side of him?
Well, I don't think you can be Peter Pan and be an adult dad at the same time. They're not. They're completely polar opposites.
And it's something the movie kind of plays fast and loose with because clearly we want to like get rid of the yuppie part of him and just embrace the wild, earthy child side. But whatever, he has it both ways. Great, and as Julia Roberts Tinkerbell says, go get them.
Yeah, go get your kids. So then. He's like, I have a plan. And of course, then we have the montage of all the lost boys setting everything up. And they suddenly have armor now and like weapons where they throw paint. And did they create a boat in basically an hour for this fight scene? I mean, that was another thing do they just have these things just in the wings waiting for them?
I mean, if Mr. Smee has a sweatshop, these Lost Boys, they're just like caffeinated, all the sugar, staying up all night, making this like Apocalypse Now boat. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And clearly, I think with this sequence of the movie, as you perfectly put up, you said, oh man, like clearly they saw Home Alone the year before because it's so Home Alone.
So much Home Alone stuff.
And I'm sure like Mattel's like, we got to have action figures. We got to have we got to have the toys. We're going to have like it feels like a toy commercial.
Yeah, which is funny because, Captain Hook is like, it's going to be the war to end all wars. And then it's wacky.
It's wacky. And it's fine because at first I was a little disappointed too. I'm thinking like, man, like these sword fights are corny and goofy, but it's supposed to be children fighting pirates in the most wacky, whimsical sense. It's not supposed to be like Crouching Tiger.
And we don't want to see pirates killing kids in a Spielberg Peter Pan movie.
And there is a moment where a blade touches one of the boys, which is something that sounds strange out of context, but you see Captain Hook's blade. So Rufio eats it.
Yeah, no, Captain Hook kills Rufio.
Kills it, and I gotta say, like,
are you trying to like keep it from being a spoiler? Because we all know.
Why am I trying to like you guys are not gonna believe this, but Rufio dies. Okay.
It's been 30 years. I think it's fine.
I think we've all adjusted. Yeah, no, and I like that. I love that part where Rufio gets to fight Captain Hook, and he's clearly relishing it, and it's really well done and well choreographed. Rufio gets impaled, and if anything, it's like it just reminds you Captain Hook is so awful.
Yeah,
he's so bad.
Yeah, he's really going to kill these kids if he can.
Kill these children.
He will.
Happily.
Yeah, he will, and that's the part you kind of forget a little bit in the wackiness.
Yeah, because there's so much comedy of Captain Hook being a psychopathic roommate to Mr. Smee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Rufio tells Peter Pan, like, I wish I had a dad like you. I mean, it's really sweet.
It's great.
It's
Again,
really,
like
it's
Dante
moving.
Bosco plays Rufio. I like his performance. He's totally committed to this.
It's totally believable.
Yeah.
Because, you forget all of these kids are orphans, and we don't know how they got to Neverland or anything like that. But there is a lot of themes of wishing you had a mom, wishing you had a family.
Yeah.
Even the pirates are like, Mommy.
Right. And Peter Banning is a bad dad, and being Peter Pan tells him how to be a good father. So there is that arc to the character. So Peter Pan, who is now Robin Williams, and Williams, is so spry and delightful in this portion of the film, he takes on Captain Hook.
Well, no, but he takes his kids first. And,
he does. That's
and he's
right.
like, we're going to leave. And Hook is like, I will come after your children's children. And you're like, oh, dang, he's like not going to let this grudge go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then they fight.
Yeah, it's great, and it's funny, too, because they always show Captain Hook from the back fighting Robin Williams. Williams clearly went to choreography camp.
I was totally
and
thinking
Dustin
that.
Hoffman did not.
Yeah,
clearly. There's no shots of Dustin Hoffman fighting Williams. Williams is going for it, and he's great.
Dustin Hoffman was like, just have my stunt double come in for me today.
It's like, you're paying me $10 million to play this character. I'm not learning how to use a sword. You insane?
He's like, I already have a hook as a hand. That's all I'm doing.
I was in Tootsie. I'm not using a sword.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So then, basically Hook gets eaten by...
Oh, you want to jump right to that?
Well, yeah.
I love the moment where he loses his hair. That's great.
Yeah,
that's a nice one. Because, it's a nice contrast because he humiliated Peter Banning so severely in the beginning of the film. It's nice to see Captain Hook really taking down so many different pegs. The bit with the crocodile, where the crocodile comes to life and eats him, it's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
I have a real I've always had a hard time with it.
I do too. Because it's like, okay, obviously this crocodile has been mounted for like decades.
But now he's furious because Hook impales him with his hook accidentally, but he's been alive, entombed in this clock this whole time. Comes to life and very lazily falls on him. I mean, he doesn't even attack Hook. He falls on him and somehow devours him.
And burps.
It's nonsensical. This scene should have ended when Pan defeats him and says, you basically get the hell out of Neverland, and Hook says, well, what would the world be like without Captain Hook? It should have just ended where it's like, we'll pick this up some other time.
Yeah.
They should have just left it at that. You don't need to kill Captain Hook. You really don't, even though he killed Rufio. You don't need to kill him. But the way they handle it just, even for a fantasy, it doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah. It's so frustrating.
I've never liked that ending for him.
Have him fall in a pit with actual crocodiles. Have the actual crocodile still alive. Have Jack kill Captain Hook. I mean, there's so many different ways they should have gone at it. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea. I remember as a kid thinking it was funny that the crocodile burps. It's like, okay, it's
for kids.
It's ironic, but yeah, it's
because the crocodile he his head goes down and looks at him, and Captain Hook's like, oh no. It's like,
and it falls. I mean, people love to pick on the moment in Prometheus, which is a movie I love, where this giant ship perfectly falls on Charlize Theron, who does not run out of the way. This is so much worse. It makes so little sense. And Cook's just like, oh no, a crocodile! And it falls on him and just perfectly swallows him up.
It basically looks like he jumps inside of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
is clearly what the stunt person
exactly.
had to do,
the stunt person just had to jump inside of this crocodile's mouth.
It is nonsense. It really is, and it's so frustrating because we had not one but two big sword fights where Williams was doing all the work, and it was exciting, and then this, yeah, it's ridiculous. It should have just ended with what would the world be without Captain Hook, and then you cut to the modern day stuff.
Yeah.
Which is weird. This is where I have a big issue with this film. So Maggie and Jack are rescued. It's a step. Peter Pan gives his sword to Thud, the Lost Boy, because clearly he's the most qualified. No, he's not. So he leaves. He leaves Neverland, and we have a lovely shot of Caroline Goodall. It's like, oh, like I'm so glad we're going back to this character. We haven't seen her for it feels like it's been an hour since we've seen this character.
Well, it's been like 3 days, and she's sleeping in the nursery, obviously distraught that her kids are gone.
Distraught is a very mild way of putting it. Yeah. I mean, her kids have been missing for 3 days.
So the fact that she could even
and her husband too
fall asleep, is crazy.
Well, maybe this is like the first time she slept in days.
Maybe.
Probably just mad with exhaustion.
Yeah.
But even before we get there, Peter Pan wakes up underneath a statue of himself, which it's wonderful. It's great. But then he sees Mr. Smee as a janitor, and he's sweeping. And it's Bob Hoskins playing the janitor, like, hello, oh, how are you? You know, it's like, it's very, it's fine. But then I wonder, like, I don't know. This does not work, because this isn't a Wizard of Oz situation where Uncle Henry and Auntie Em are different people. Smee has been spying on Peter Banning for some time. He's still Mr. Smee. This doesn't make it. This does not work.
I don't think the janitor is actually Smee.
But he is.
No, I don't. I think he's.
It's the same actor, looking exactly like him.
It's the same actor, but I don't think he's actually him. I think it could be Peter, like, hallucinating, somebody who looks like him.
He even has the same twinkle in his eye. It's the same guy. I have a real hard time with this, because again, like, it's been established that Smee exists in both of these worlds.
So you think he's like a more magical character? Like, he's just going back and forth? He's got like some time portal?
I think Peter Pan should get up and start beating the stuffing out of this guy. I think he should, like, beat him with his broom. I mean, this is a guy who, like, abducted his children. You know, there's no comeuppance for this character. He's like the only one of these evil pirates who's still around.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same guy.
But it is. It's also the same actor.
Yeah, I know. It's the same actor, but I think he's just, like, playing a guy who looks like him. I don't think it's actually him.
But Smee exists in this world, so of course it could be Smee. Of course. He's probably spying on him, like my boss is gone, but I'm going to still watch you. I'll see you at the baseball game, Mr. Banning.
Yeah, he's like, my file is getting kind of thin. I need some more papers for my file.
I'll be in the trays watching you and the wife.
Oh my god.
Okay. It's clearly getting late. So,
all right. No, but then he sees Tinkerbell, and I love what she says. She's like, I'll always love you, Peter Pan. You know that moment when you're in between sleep and awake? That's where I'll always love you, and that's where you can find me.
It is
really
lovely.
It is really sweet.
Because again, this movie doesn't know what to do with these love triangles, and that's fine. That's a nice moment. It is.
Yeah. All right.
So this movie doesn't know how the frick to end, because not only have we established that Toodles is completely deranged.
No, you can't go. You can't jump to that.
Oh, you want to jump to the mom of the kids?
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
That's even crazier.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the kids, fly back to their room, and they see that their mom's asleep, and they're like, she looks like an angel. Don't wake her up. Let's surprise her. And they go back into their beds, and then the mom wakes up, and Grandma Wendy walks in, and she's like, oh, in my dreams, I see them in their beds. When I wake up, they're still there. And then all of a sudden the kids, like, throw off their covers. They're like, Mommy! It's like, I'm sorry, what? Like, she falls. Okay, this makes me cry every time. For 30 years, I've been crying over her acting because it's so amazing. But she falls to the ground, and the kids, like, run over to her, and she's just bawling her eyes out because, of course. But it's like, you were like, why are they doing this to her?
It's so sadistic because, again, these kids have been missing for 3 days, and her husband. She's been home alone with Grandma Wendy.
It might have even been longer than 3 days.
Yeah, maybe, who knows? Yeah, maybe it's been 3 years.
It might have been a week. We don't know.
We don't know. But, Inspector Phil Collins is still looking for these kids. And poor Moira is just, dealing with the loss of her kids.
Whole family is
this
gone.
Psychopath who puts a sword in her grandma's wall has stolen her kids. And then it's like, Mommy, here we are, surprise!
Surprise!
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, like, didn't they ever think like maybe like, I mean, not only would she have a breakdown, maybe like jumping out of bed like that would give Grandma Wendy a heart attack and kill her right there.
Maybe Moira and Grandma Wendy have double heart attacks and they just are goners right there.
Again, the movie avoids all these sort of dark possibilities, not only because of the music, but also the tone of it. It's, it's fantasy. Just go with it. Just go with it.
Okay, so then Peter finally gets home.
He gets home, although, again, it's like the movie doesn't know quite what to do with the fact that he's both Peter Pan and Peter Banning, because he gets on his phone, and it's cute, but it's also like he's still a yuppie, and he's still going back to work. Yeah,
okay, because it's established that he's like basically losing this like $5 billion deal at the beginning of the movie,
right.
And his business partner.
It's the deal of my life.
Yeah, it's a phone call of my life. Like, shut up, kids,
Right.
And then Brad, his partner, calls him at the end, and he's like, "Oh, Brad, you've been on hold this whole time?" Like,
it's a funny joke, but it's like, well, it's the 90s. I bet he was.
And then he just like throws the phone out the window as if his job is meaningless, which, okay.
Now you guys are going to live on love? Whatever.
They're just going to move in with Grandma Wendy.
He's going to do like celebrity appearances. I'm the real Peter Pan. Sure you are.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe Granny Wendy is like, move to London. Come live with me. The kids would love it.
And just when the movie feels like we're going to get to that, there's the business with Toodles, like a coke addict who hasn't been around cocaine in forever, sprinkles the fairy dust all over him like a madman, and he's suddenly flying around the room like it's bed knobs and broomsticks.
Yeah, and then he flies out. He basically...
Well, Mary Poppins. I'm sure that's what they wanted. They're like, it's just like Mary Poppins. He flies out the window, and he does a little twirl around Big Ben. It's a good effect.
And that's it.
Williams, the last line he has is, life is the ultimate adventure. And I got to say, that really got to me hearing him say that.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah, I miss him.
Yeah.
Got to say, though, this movie opens up with a theatrical performance. We're going to go right back to the very beginning. Start all over. So it opens up with this theatrical performance of Peter Pan. The first thing that we see, the first shots that Spielberg gives us is of these children looking slack-jawed and in awe of this performance. It's all these kids watching this Peter Pan production. It's the first shots of the movie. And I got to say, like, it reminded me right then and there, as it does now, like, this is the last film Spielberg did for children. This is a movie for children, which is why I've been able to forgive it, all of its flaws, all these years. For me, it's been a 4-star movie since the first time I saw it, and I still feel that way about it. I feel it's flawed because it's corny and it's got plot holes and there's moments that don't work. But the moments in this movie that are so moving, so touching, and it's such a robust film, it really is the best and worst of Spielberg, because it looks and feels like a Spielberg film. At times it's so exciting and, just like really captivating. And then there are times where it's so corny, it's overdone, it's overstaged, or it's underwritten or overwritten. It really is like the ultimate Spielberg film. It's got the Spielbergian glow. And it has like themes, everything from like E.T. to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, dealing with a father trying to find himself, bad parents become good parents, and maybe that's the problem with the ending. Maybe it really should have ended where Peter Pan wants to go back to Neverland. In the same way, at the end of Close Encounters, Richard Dreyfuss says goodbye family and just like goes with the aliens and leaves. Maybe this movie should have been like come on, Grandma Wendy, and he sprinkles it on Maggie Smith and they go fly off and together.
Oh man, Grandma Wendy would be so pumped.
Oh man, it'd be like the strangest ending ever. But I do feel like, again, like it is a flawed film. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but at its best, this is everything I wanted it's everything I wanted it to be, and I felt that way as a kid. I do love this film so much, despite the fact that it has moments in it that are questionable. Well, it has plot holes that cannot be excused by the fact that it's a fantasy. But I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. And honestly, watching it with a more, I guess, critical eye is the only reason I really noticed the plot holes. Because watching it over the years, I'm just like, this movie is great.
Yeah.
The only thing that's always bothered me is Captain Hook dying in the crocodile. That's honestly like, okay, well,
Yeah.
that was lame. But everything else that we talked about, it's not like I really thought about it that much because it is a really fun movie. And, you know, Robin Williams really sells it as Peter Pan.
Yeah.
You know, like you can really, his transformation, it feels real.
Agreed. Yeah, he's so terrific in it, and Hoffman is doing some really inventive and really funny stuff
and
here.
even
Yeah,
the kids, like the ones who play his kids.
yeah. Charlie Corsmo,
They're really
he's
good.
great. Yeah,
The Lost
Little
Boys,
Amber
like
Scott.
you said, are like a little generic, but Rufio's awesome.
They're,
Like,
yeah, Rufio's awesome. The other kids are giving sitcom performances. It's hammy.
but I would
corny.
say everyone, for the most part, is giving top-notch performances.
They know they're in a Peter Pan movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it totally works. No, yeah, I totally dig this film.
Okay, so how would you have changed the ending then?
I would definitely have. I would not have Toodles sprinkle.
Would you have Toodles in this movie at all?
I would have that character deleted from this film. I would have that character completely digitally edited out of this film. And yeah, I would definitely have. I would have Peter Pan show up at the balcony and and reunite with his wife and his children. And he's like, time for a new adventure. And you think he's talking to Moira. He's talking to Wendy. And he sprinkles it on her. He's like, oh, Peter. Like, it's time. And they fly off together. Yeah, and it's the two of them, like, spinning around.
He leaves his family.
Yeah, and Moira and the kids are like, what? And then we cut to a Steven Spielberg film. And then John Williams music plays, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and an audience of millions of people go, what? That's how you end it?
Everyone's so confused.
He's with that old lady?
Yeah, that doesn't make
But
any
time
sense.
doesn't mean anything in Neverland, so.
Oh my gosh.
This is this is really the end of this part of Spielberg's career because at this point, even though he made films obviously that had adult appeal, he was called the Peter Pan of cinema for so long. He made films that were for mass audiences. After this movie, he took some time off. He did Schindler's List. He did Jurassic Park. And then after that, the movies got very grown up, very serious, very dark, very violent. This is like an end of an era watching this film.
1991 was the end of Spielberg's children's films.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. This movie, it doesn't take place, it doesn't take place in the same neighborhood as E.T., but it feels like it takes place in the same world. The world of possibilities, a world of being a child is the most magical and precious thing. Having your parents together is one of the greatest miracles, and the fact that you get to celebrate your childhood with them. A child trying to reconnect with their parents or reconnect within the child within. It's all the Spielbergian things because, after this movie, we're talking about Amistad, Saving Private Ryan, AI, which, by the way, my favorite Spielberg film, AI. Absolute favorite. And there are themes in Hook that are present in AI, but as we spoke about, like Hook doesn't get really dark. AI gets really dark. AI is it's whimsical and cute, and then it gets dark and scary in a way that Hook never does.
Yeah, I think I've only seen that once with you.
I would happily watch it with you again anytime. I love AI. But yeah, that's my favorite. But I do love Hook. Hook is it's really in the top 10, and I know it's a divisive film when it came out.
How is it divisive?
Well, the critics hated it. They hated this movie.
We all know about critics.
Well, I know you can't trust a film critic.
You can't trust a film critic. So.
In '91, they all picked on how expensive it was, and yes, it was one of the most expensive films ever made. They made fun of the fact that it wasn't, it was too cutesy and syrupy. But then my thing, even as a kid, I'm like, this is a film for children. Spielberg made a real children's film. And it continues to delight generations and generations and generations. People love this movie, and deservedly so. It's not perfect, but at times it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that sums it up. It's not perfect, but at times it is.
I would end with life is the ultimate adventure. That's the last thing that Williams says, and it's beautiful to hear this late, great, magnificent actor say that. And this is a very underrated performance for him, but Williams, I think, rises to the occasion.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, that concludes our conversation about Hook. Thanks for joining us.
Good night, everyone.